Welcome to Slayerfest 98. I'm Ian Carlos Crawford.
I'm Alastair Patton Garcia.
And I'm May birthday girl Shults. It's not actually my birthday. I just wanted to pretend.
You tricked me.
We're here talking about Angel Season 3, Episode 11, Birthday.
Yay!
I tried to see if I had a birthday hat. I couldn't find one to wear for this.
I wish you had. Alastair, you actually specifically asked to be on for this episode, so
I did.
Tell me what you thought revisiting it. Did you still love it the way you...
I still loved it.
Yeah.
I love it so much. I wish we had more of the Cordy portion of it. So I actually watched the deleted scene where they had more of the sitcom on the DVDs. And they were saying it just didn't work funny wise, so they cut it. But it was Marty Noxon talking about how they wrote it. But I love it, and I love this alternate reality of Cordelia. I would watch an entire season of this. Love it.
Yeah, same.
Nice.
I have been on several episodes of Slayerfest where we're talking about alternate realities, and it's really fun because there are always exciting episodes to get out of the norm of what's happening and see our characters in different situations in a different world. And I like that it's always kind of a temporary trope. It's nice that we get to visit those worlds, but then come back to the one that we know and love.
Yes.
Yeah. So I visited Alastair and Zach a week ago. And Alastair, you kind of changed how I thought about this episode when you're talking about it. And when I rewatched it today, I was like, okay, I think I do like this episode more. I always felt kind of meh about this episode, but I appreciated it more this watch after listening to you tell me why you love it. So yeah, no, I think this is the watch I appreciate it the most. I still do wish what you just said, Alastair. They said the Cordy stuff wasn't
Wasn't working.
Yeah. For me, I wish it worked better. I do wish there was a little bit more of it. It was maybe a little funnier to balance out the serious we do get. I wish there was a little bit of funny parts in that alternate.
Yes. And what's crazy is I was looking at an old interview of Charisma Carpenter's where she said that when she came back for season 5, she found out that she was actually the least paid primetime TV woman lead. Ugh. So she's making $50,000 an episode. And on Buffy, she's making $35,000. And I was thinking, if you had a huge sitcom, you'd be making $100,000, $200,000, maybe even $1 million an episode if it was that big, you know?
Yeah. The Friends stars, what? Their contracts were bananas. What was
it was $1 million per
episode?
person per episode.
Yeah, and that show sucks. Sorry, I fucking hate that show.
I actually have just only watched maybe 4 episodes, but it's not for me. But that's okay. And even Seinfeld, weren't they making each of them making $5 million an episode or something? By the
sitcoms
end?
Is where the money's at, honestly, because they don't push a lot of production. There's not much into CGI or anything like that, so they're able to pay their actors.
They're probably not having to do action scenes at 3 a.m. in the morning.
And they get huge viewership numbers because everyone likes to laugh.
Yeah.
Because I've been watching Modern Family recently, and the writing on that, great writing.
I gotta say, I do defend Modern Family. I know people rag on it. I do think it's funny. I got a little tired of the shtick because it became the same thing over and over. Yeah. But I do think they're pretty good with there always being a good beat or a joke or something coming back.
Yeah.
And also, the Sofia Vergara and Ed O'Neill basically are my parents, so that's I always like that.
I would definitely watch Cordy though. If that was a real show, I'd watch it.
I'd watch it too.
What was it? Do you all remember? Didn't Charisma have a sitcom after Angel? Wasn't she on a show called Mismatch or something, or Mismatched?
Yes. I don't know if I ever watched it though, and I doubt it's streaming anywhere.
I doubt it's streaming anywhere. All I remember of Charisma post Angel is her Playboy cover and her being Playmate of the Year, 3 months after she gave birth. Because I remember watching the interviews and being like, oh my gosh, she's so hot, and trying to get the Playboy. We have the Playboy now. So
amazing.
I remember was I working at Barnes & Noble when that no. I was working at Barnes & Noble when Shannon Doherty posed. And, this is not, nobody's sex shaming anybody. Like, that's great.
Yeah.
But me and a coworker were like, and it was me and a straight woman. And we were like, can we look? Like, we were like, because it was behind registers. And we were like, is that weird? And she was like, I want to look too. And I was like, okay, and we like looked together. And like, we were like, oh, she looks great.
It's weird because Playboy was like between like owning your sexuality, but also like selling it. I don't know. It's a weird place, but it's also like, I mean, they look great. Let them look great.
Yeah. Well, and if you want to do something like that, you should have the agency and bodily autonomy to do that.
Yeah.
I have been wanting to do a boudoir shoot forever because it would make me feel amazing.
Exactly.
Alastair's husband actually, he was like, I think if you did like one of those like cosplay photo shoots, like you'd feel good about yourself, but I always feel too self-conscious to do like something like that.
Okay, well, having seen a preview of the My Bloody Judy photo shoot that y'all did, I can tell you that you look great.
Well,
y'all look great. Zach showed me the magazine one. Oh my gosh.
Oh, so good. It's so good.
I don't know if I told you that, but Zach is editing them all to look like magazine pages.
Oh my God, that's so fantastic.
Yeah, I'm like really excited to see them. They'll be dropping in October, everybody, when My Bloody Judy comes back. Anyway, let's get into the episode. So we open, and I am so charmed by Cordelia having a speech ready and Fred just being fully enamored and being like, yay, you did so good. Fred is so fucking cute. This season, I had a little bit of trouble because I think the show also didn't quite know who Fred was yet. I think it was almost like kind of with Gunn, but I don't know that Gunn they ever landed fully. But it's like, here's a new character that's going to be in the cast. We'll figure it out as we go. But I think now we have like this is the Fred that I love, where she's just like cute and charming and talks a lot, but doesn't have this like shticky accent.
She still has an accent a little bit,
but not like... It's like Foghorn Leghorn in the first few episodes.
Yeah, it's not as intense, and she has kind of settled into, like you said, she's adorable, she's sweet, she's supportive, she's still goofy, she's still a giant nerd who talks too much, and it all works.
Relatable to all of three of us.
Yes, I love Fred so much, and she's definitely the character that I relate to most on Angel. So when she gets to this point where she seems more fully formed, it's so wonderful.
And right now I think she's playing like cheerleader / support system for Angel investigations. So I like that for her.
And I like that we're also like, we start this season where she's crushing on Angel, which is understandable. He saved her, he's handsome, whatever. But I like that we get rid of that. She's not forever longing for him. And now she's just kind of like, as we move forward, she's the one that's like, yay, Angel and Cordy. She like becomes not only Angel Investigations cheerleader, but she becomes a Cordy and Angel cheerleader. And I love that we're able to move beyond. There's not like a jealousy. There's not like any weirdness. She's fully over it. She's good. She loves them. And she's just excited to be with her friends, which...
She's a stan.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
She's writing fanfics about them on AOC.
She's just like me, but I do not write fanfic about my friend. We see that they are cleaning up the Hyperion Hotel from the grenade that went off in the previous episode.
It's all the Wolfram and Hart goo.
Yeah.
You know what? And I agree. Angel needs to be the one to start cleaning that up.
Right. Yeah. Like,
you're not even the boss anymore.
Yeah. I know you got a kid, but like, you can still clean. I am curious. I don't know if I've talked about this with either of you, because this is our first recording back in a long time. I go back and forth whether I like or dislike the way they have Angel be this like obsessive dad. Because I try to think of myself. I'm like, well, I don't really want to be a parent, but what if I like had to be? What if it's like, oops, there's a baby. And maybe
all babies.
Right. Like, and maybe I would also be like, because I'm not like, I get nervous about like, if I have a dog where I'm like, oh, got to make sure the dog's okay. When my nephew's around, I get nervous. So maybe I would be like that. I don't know. What do y'all think?
I think that, I mean, this was never a possibility for Angel, right? So even if it was like in his human life plans or not. Like, it's like, I've got 200 plus years behind my belt. This is a new experience, and he's excited about it. And also, like, the Connor as a baby doesn't seem as like fussy as most other babies. So he seems like a good baby, but I bet you he had terrible twos, especially with super strength. Imagine a 2-year-old with super strength.
Oof.
In a hell dimension. Sorry. Spoiler.
No, we do spoilers. That's like another good point. Like, he has super strength too, and living in a hell dimension. Like,
I forgot. Are we doing spoilers on Angel coverage? Okay, I'm so used to Magicians coverage where we're not doing spoilers.
Yeah. So we Gunn comes in. He's got some hazmat gear on. Angel comes in with the baby. He won't let anyone hold it. Cordelia has to go wash her hands.
Make sure to scrub under your fingernails.
But we learned that he kind of sent her to wash her hands because they had a birthday surprise for her, which I think is so cute.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. When they bring out the cake and it's like her as a superhero with a crossbow, I love
it so much.
Well, I want to say we've had several scenes of Cordelia in the bathroom where I keep on thinking it's this scene, but it's not. Mm-hmm. Like when she got attacked.
And she's got the claw marks from the vision.
Yeah, and
so she's there. She's pill popping. Very Julia of her, very Brett Summer. And then she comes out to the surprise.
Yes, the cake. They all sing to her, and I'm really also charmed by when Angel's like, "I got you something," and he's like, all, I don't know. I'm not always charmed by Angel, but I'm charmed by the way he loves Cordelia.
Yes, exactly. It's so sweet and pure, and it feels like a 12-year-old boy having his first real crush and genuinely being emotionally vulnerable about it instead of being a dumb boy about it.
Yeah.
And it's so cute.
We never got to see what was in the box, right?
No, we didn't. You're right.
No.
Imagine if it was like the same necklace he gifted Buffy.
Oh, God.
But if Cordelia knew that was the necklace he gave Buffy, she would have been like, nope.
Yes, she would have.
She would have had him hold out his hand and pressed it into it and been like, enjoy that burn.
Yeah. I'll take my new present tomorrow.
And they keep on cutting off kind of like the romantic or almost romantic scenes where he's like, who is more important than, and he's about to say you, but.
Ian Martin said this, and I didn't think about it till he said it, but he said in one of the episodes that the only reason he doesn't like them together is because they don't ever get together. And it feels like that's the point, is like, ooh, look, like we keep getting interrupted until we just don't happen. And that is like a critique I do understand, because that is annoying. I do get a little annoyed by that.
It's romantic edging.
Yes.
Yeah. Which a lot of shows do, honestly.
Yeah. So. And I'm not a fan of edging, personally.
Well, 911's been doing that for like 7 seasons now.
Oh, really?
And yeah.
That show's been on for 7 years.
Yeah, 7 seasons with the Buddy and Eddie relationship, the gay one.
I thought the guys were together in that show.
No. One of them just came out as bi. And he's now with a guy. And so we're hoping next season.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Right. Well, hey, at least they're letting a character be bisexual.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they moved from, I think it was, they moved to CBS. And so CBS is now letting them do it. Yeah.
Nice.
I feel like that's like, there's like a network that lets them. Also, doesn't 911 have like 2 other spinoffs?
It has 911 Lone Star, which is the Texas one, and they do have a lot of gay characters. And I'm not saying that 911 didn't have; they've had an out lesbian character the entire time.
Nice.
My mom liked that show, so sometimes I would catch it. My mom loved those type of shows like Grey's Anatomy, 911, and like the shows that like I feel like commit emotional terrorism, because it's like I would have no context and I would watch a scene and be crying. I could not even tell you the context of. In an ambulance, one of the workers also gets hurt when they're like transporting someone. Yeah. And it's like, he's this nice old dad and then he dies and it's like one of the workers. And like the scene is just them crying over him dying, and I cried. I didn't know anyone in the scene, and I was just like, man, like crying watching it with my mom like 2 years ago.
I mean, you can look up the buddy edits, and then 911 Lone Star has bi character, gay character, and a trans mask character.
Oh,
that's awesome.
That is. I'm also surprised that that's not like talked about.
Yeah, they're concluding their fifth season. Fox is, I mean, they canceled the other one, so CBS picked it up. So we'll see if CBS picks up 911 Lone Star.
And Julie Benz is on one of them, wasn't she? Like in a few episodes, I think.
I'm trying to remember, but I can't remember. I can't remember.
Anyway, so Cordelia gets to hold the baby, and she tells Angel, take the baby, because she gets a vision and passes out and wakes up. And what does she see when she wakes up, May? What's behind her?
Skip.
No. Not yet. That's later.
Sorry.
She sees herself, and
she sees
like
herself. She's having a proper out of body experience, and they put that nice extra reverb on her voice, so you can tell she's on a slightly different plane of existence. And everyone is surrounding her and trying to figure out what's wrong. And of course, Lauren comes in right on time, and Angel's like, hey, Lauren, do your thing. And she's not in there. I
don't know if y'all notice this. When Lauren enters, he says, what's all the hubbub, bub? Which is what Glory says to Dawn in season 5 when, like, in the gift.
Oh,
when,
you're
like,
right.
Dawn's, like, freaking out. I was like, that's such a specific thing for two characters to say.
It's probably the same writer.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, maybe Joss Whedon was like, hey, I like this line. Let's use it again. Yeah. I feel like his stank is kind of all over this episode with some of the bits, and most of that I mean in a derogatory way.
But yeah, so we go into like Cordelia enters her Ghost of Christmas Future era. You know, Lauren says he's picking up hardcore woo-woo vibes. It has to be something mystical. And during all this, Gunn and Fred, well, they like kind of split up. Gunn and Fred go to Cordelia's apartment. And
I love when they open the door and Dennis blows the party popper and releases the glitter. We've talked about Phantom Dennis before, and he's such a sweetheart, and I'm always so sad that we don't get more of him.
And I was thinking, this is the first time I thought about this, but I was like, wouldn't a ghost be able to help with it? Like, I feel like they could be like, is there any way you can come to that? Like, can we bring her body here? Like, let's try something out. Because
I don't think he can leave the apartment.
Yeah, he can't leave the apartment.
He can't leave the apartment. And also, I feel like the ghost plane overlaps with ours more. So Cordelia is on a different mystical plane. So
she's an astral plane.
Yeah, exactly. So she can still observe everything that's happening, but she can't affect it the way that Phantom Dennis can.
Yeah. And I'm just really charmed by Fred, like, being excited. And she's like, oh, it's so nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Like, she's so fucking cute. I wonder how I will think going through it this time, but I'm not usually into Fred with either Wesley or Gunn. The only time I'm really into her and Wesley is like at the end of season 5 when she fucking dies. Is like, all right, I'm a little into this. But I did like the cute cut of like Gunn being charmed by her when he's like, you're cool. Like he loves that she's not scared of the ghosts and she's just excited to meet another friend.
And that's another reason I love and relate to Fred so much is she's just her authentic self. She's never trying to be cool.
She just is.
Yeah, not giving a fuck what other people think about you is something that makes you cool. And I've been told I'm cool by people, and I don't feel quote unquote cool in the traditional definition of cool, but I don't give a shit what people think of me. I care how they treat me, but I don't care what they think of me. And I'm going to be my authentic self at all times.
Listen,
all I know is during this time, what was cool was layering shirts.
Mm-hmm.
You know, everybody layered their shirts.
Layering.
Oh, yeah,
shirt.
yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Do you remember, like, I feel like it was either a gay guy thing or like a frat dude thing to like double collared shirt where it's like
puff,
pull yeah. I did used to like to pull up my collars. Because of course I did. But I don't think I did a lot of layered collar. I would do like this shirt, but I'd have like a button up underneath of this shirt.
With a puka shell necklace.
No, I didn't do a puka shell necklace. I shopped at Hot Topic, so I did the chain ball necklace.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I had one of those.
Yeah. I wore that till it turned fucking green. So yeah, they look around Cordelia's like apartment trying to look for clues. I do like that also Phantom Dennis is protecting her, right? Because he knows she doesn't want her friends to know, and it's not in like a insidious way. He thinks he's helping Cordelia because he's like, oh, she doesn't want to know about this, so let me make sure they don't find it, which I think is like also really sweet.
The underwear scene was a little weird, I have to say. It makes sense that he'd go through her drawers, but why is he holding her bra?
Yes.
Right.
I was thinking that too, because like, yeah, that does make sense. If you're looking like, where's a secret place? Sure. But like, and when Fred says like, well, I didn't have underwear, and he like kind of smiles and looks down, I was like, but like you said, May, that is weird.
Yeah. Also, come on, real girlies. I have a whole drawer dedicated to all my toys and kink implements. I'm not hiding them anywhere. Yeah, it's literally an entire drawer in one of my dressers.
I love that. When I worked at the Museum of Sex, I had just had them in my closet because I would get ones geared towards people with vaginas, and I didn't have any use for them, so I'd hand them out to my friends. So I just had like a pile of them in my closet.
That's amazing.
But yeah, so we see that Angel is kind of like sitting over Cordelia. He's like freaking out. I was like, Angel, fix your tone when you're talking to Lauren. I don't like how like suddenly he gets as if Lauren is like their enemy, but Lauren is their friend.
No, he treats him like a second-rate person. And I think it's because he's a demon, honestly.
Yeah.
I think Yeah,
it's... If this were a different show, I would say that's kind of a subtle commentary on racism. But here I don't.
Speciesism?
Yeah. Here I just don't think they're thinking about it that deep. Angel Lauren is the person that he acts like a dick toward when he's frustrated.
Yes.
And it's unfortunate because Lauren is obviously the most empathetic person in his life. And I think Angel's brain subconsciously assumes that because of that, he's not going to hold any of this against Angel.
Well, and he's always helpful, and you've blown up his bar 3 times. So like, come on.
God, he really has blown up his bar so much.
Right. And like, Lauren loves Cordelia. He's going to do everything he can to help her. Stop being a dick.
And so, because I'm thinking of what people will reply, he does have the line like, but it'll be really muddy, or like, it'll be complicated and muddy. And Angel's like, I'm not asking you. There's just another way we could have gone about that, but whatever. Yeah. I feel like also to your point about Lauren is empathetic enough to be like, I know he's really upset because this is like who he loves.
Yeah.
I would probably be like, you're hurting my feelings. Stop being mean. And this is when...
Yeah, this is when Skip shows up, right, I believe.
Doesn't Cordelia possess Angel first?
Yes, she possesses Angel first.
Right.
Yeah, which I do like the scene of. And I thought that was kind of smart of her because, I mean, it doesn't really work, but like, she tried. Also, I kept thinking this, but because of May, as you mentioned, the weed instinct, if this had been the opposite way, there would have absolutely been a joke. If it was like, one of the dudes possessing one of the lady. They're absolutely been like a ooh boobs joke, or like touching their boobs, looking down their pants, and honestly, I do think it would have been funny if Cordelia checked out Angel's gun. Yeah.
Because what's going on down there?
Because that is actually in line with Cordelia's character.
Yes, I agree. And
well, I think she was so focused on the vision, because when it happened to her, I was like, oh, she's going to go through the 5 stages of grief, but she goes through denial, and then right after denial, she's like, we got to save this person.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because that's who Cordelia is.
Yes, and like, this episode does a really good job of showing us all the subtle, like, evolutions of her character, because she is upset that she's dead, but then she's like, well, but I don't want that girl to get killed. I don't want anything to happen to her. Like, we need to save her. And I love that that's what she's most worried about is how do I get the message to them so they can save this, like, teen girl? And yeah, I don't know. I just, like, I love Cordelia so much.
It's such a character arc, honestly. This is, like, the... like apex of her character arc.
Agreed.
Well, and we'll talk about it more as we go, but with what happens in the episode, it is such a perfect distillation of who she is and why she has come so far. Because even when she gets put into this alternate reality, it's still all she can focus on. All she can focus on is trying to help someone that she knows is in trouble.
Yep. That's why she's our hero.
Mm-hmm.
So Skip enters. I like that he has like this like scary entrance and he's just like, hey. I wrote in my notes, I love Skip. Well, this version of him before they pretended he was always supposed to be evil, but I want to retract what I say in my notes because by the end of this episode, I was a little bit like, maybe they were going there. Like I could kind of see it.
So I think that there were some foreshadowing moments, but I don't think that they were meant to be foreshadowing.
That's fair.
You know, but afterwards they're like, yeah, that fits, you know?
Yeah. Because I remember when I watched it live, I was just like, the fuck is that? Like, no, I liked Skip. Why are we doing this to him? But I think you're right, Alastair. It's like accidental for it, where it's like, oh, there's a foreshadowing moment, but only retroactively, and it wasn't really probably supposed to be. Because I like the idea of this big scary demon who's just like this like chill guy who's like, yeah, whatever, I'm just doing my job, whatever.
Like when he brings that like past vision person from like the 1600s in, and she's like, he won't steer you wrong, this one. And I was like, that's kind of foreshadowing, but I don't think it was meant to be foreshadowing.
Well, and he does get a little sassy with her.
Yeah.
He's like, all right, no, go. Seriously, get out of here. Like,
yeah, I'm working.
Like, yeah. And I was like, But again, I do think you're probably right, Alastair. That's like that works. It fits, but not on purpose. Like it wasn't on purpose done that way. But yeah, no, I like Skip. I like that Cordelia also at this point, we don't have to pretend she's scared because she's seen a bazillion demons. So she's just like, okay.
Yeah.
This big guy with these weird horns and like this like big, shoulder pad, whatever thing. I was thinking about Skip because I was thinking about xenomorphs recently because of Alien Romulus. And someone tweeted that the engineers from Prometheus, the suits they're wearing at the end are not suits. That's like their skin.
No.
I think it is a suit.
The original engineer that you see in the chair on the ship in Alien, many people assumed that what we were seeing was an exoskeleton, and that's why it was intact the way it is. And then we see in Prometheus that it's not an exoskeleton. It is a suit. It just looks very organic.
Yeah, because you see the naked bodybuilder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so I was like wondering about that, and I'm like, I wonder with Skip, because
like, is that just part of his physiology, or are those accoutrements?
It looks part of his physiology.
Yeah, it really does. Skip looks like he was sculpted out of obsidian.
Yeah. Yeah, and so oftentimes on these shows, a lot of the demons can look like, what do we have left in the spare like costume closet?
Right.
Skip is kind of randomly thrown together, but I think it's a cool design. Like,
I think it's a great design.
Yeah, especially for what they're going for, of like he's supposed to be big and intimidating, but he's just like this like chill person. I think that like design really works well for that. So he tells her he's just a messenger. He's just a guide, not a messenger. He basically does the Terminator, come with me if you want to live. And they transport away
to the mall.
Which I feel like, Alastair, you're about to say this.
It looks like the Sunnydale Mall.
In the end of season 4, when they go to Wolfram and Hart, and it's like the new looking Wolfram and Hart, it's the same building.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
I think it's the same mall that Joyce and Buffy went to when they were shopping around. So in my mind,
Bad Eggs.
Yeah, in my mind, he took her back to the Sunnydale Mall because it's where she was most comfortable.
Like on purpose.
Yeah, that's how I always interpreted it, and I love that he said, "Well, we thought you'd be more comfortable here," and she's like, "What?
Yeah.
Like, why would I want to go to this mall?" And it's because he's trying to bring her back to pre-Angel Investigations Cordelia. He's trying to put her in that mindset of being the up-and-coming actress. Yeah, of being Cordy. And so it makes sense, and I love that she calls it out.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, again, it's like the subtle things of showing us how much she's changed and like evolved. But like organically and not in like a character rewritey way, to me at least. And I do like when he's like, it's a construct of them all, like the Matrix. And she's like, you've seen the Matrix?
I love that whole conversation.
Yeah.
And I'm not really inspiring awe anymore here, am I?
Yeah. I put in my notes, he introduces her to Tammy, who's a very oi Mr. girl. She is.
You mean like Mia Goth in real life?
Yeah.
I cannot get over that her real voice is so oi Mister.
Like, I know it, but every time I hear it, I'm like, oh, right.
Yeah, because
like,
that's not what she sounds like in movies.
Yeah. It's like a weird baby voice, but also that. Yeah. Anyway, so this girl, and I do think it's like this feels like a cool horror moment when it's like the reveal of like, oh, her head was like blown out. And I like when the shows kind of like do something, because that almost feels like too gory for what they normally do. I mean, I like it, but it's like, I don't know, it's like a little different than the gore they normally do.
I also liked the meta moment when they were showing her and Doyle, and I was like, Doyle, the kissing thing, and then I was like, oh, that's so meta.
Because it's like they're watching the show.
Yeah.
While this is all going on, we cut to the Hyperion Hotel. Fred is showing them Cordelia's x-rays they found, and her medications date to like a year ago. We, the viewers, know she's been going through this since last season, but they are just finding out. And Lorne enters after talking to whoever, and his little horn's broken.
I know, it looks like it looks painful.
Yeah, I was like, how much does that hurt? That feels like that would hurt, right? Having like a part of your body just like a little dangling off your forehead.
Yeah.
And so Angel, this is like a part that I don't, it's so like nondescript. Like, where the fuck does Angel go? It's just like
the conduit. No, I think the writers were like, we have to have Angel do something.
Yeah.
While the real story's going on. So we have to send him on a mission.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, I'm like, but who is he talking to? Like the powers that be get more and more just like a story device every time I watch Angel. Cause I'm like, but this isn't the place he ever goes again. Like,
and here's the whole thing. Is this part of the scheme of putting Cordelia in the position to be able to get pregnant with Jasmine? Are these the actual powers that be in this case, or is this a misdirect to bring Angel to this place and basically just beat the crap out of him while he yells at them? And it feels like that's what it is. This does not feel like he's talking to the actual powers that be, because why would they be trying to prevent him from helping Cordelia if the whole Jasmine thing was not part of their plan?
I just don't believe in Jasmine, as a god or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, the scenes, but I do think you're right. It's just like, give him something to do, because he's just kind of walking around that flame, like aggressively yelling and sure. And then Skip does a little what if with Cordelia, right? Remember that time? And we do, like you said, Alastair, more of the meta where it's like they're watching the first episode. They're watching that episode where like Cordelia meets up with Angel.
And he's talking about it like it's football, which is so funny because it's like, okay, you know who Cordelia is well enough to bring her back to the mall. You also know that she does not care about sports at all, despite having been a cheerleader.
Like, maybe a cheerleading metaphor would work, but like...
Right. Like, it's so funny. And I love that she's like, I score a touchdown?
Because
like,
that would be me or you. I'm like...
Yeah, I don't know shit about sports. I forget what scoring method goes with what sport sometimes. I just assume everything is a goal.
I mean,
was like, what's the saying that straight people say? Any hole's a goal.
Jesus. Anyway,
I'm so sorry.
What did she say? Oh, so he's like, what if you didn't run into him and there's a successful guy here? And she says, you're saying I was meant to be an actress. And he said, I'm saying you were meant to be incredibly wealthy, famous actress. But also like, they do kind of like push her hand, right? Because he's like, well, either you can pick this reality, or when you go back to your reality, you just wait in that bed till you're dead.
Yeah,
like,
until the back of your head explodes.
I also would not pick that choice, right? Because you're still not helping.
Right. And she's still like not thinking about herself. She's like, okay, but what about the girl, that we got to save? And then he has to kind of slightly bring her into the conduit while Angel's like saying some, like she's weak or whatever, to try to get her to be like, okay, I'm done.
I know shows do this a lot, but I always hate the like, ooh, they heard 2 seconds of something that was the like incorrect 2 seconds and like didn't wait to listen for like 3 more seconds to hear what it actually was. But like, this is where I started to be like, this does feel like it could be on purpose with Skip, right? Because he's like, only shows her that, and he, one assumes, knows what is being done, like what Angel's doing. But also, again, her other option is die. It's like either pick the like wealthy, famous option or go die. I'm like, I would not begrudge anyone picking the option of not laying
I'd pick that right now.
Yeah, without being laying in bed, I would pick that option right now. So yeah, after she sees Angel, that's kind of what like pushes her, and she's just like, all right, I choose it, blah, blah, blah. And she gets her own show. It's like Friends meets Mary Tyler Moore, kind of, I feel like. God, did that just make me sound 500 years old?
No, it
I love the Mary
Friends
Tyler
vibes.
Moore show.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to give Friends vibes. I think it's definitely supposed to be like a 90s sitcom.
Yeah.
They were actually using the set of an established sitcom. I just forget which one it was.
Dharma and Greg.
Dharma and Greg, yes.
Which I love. Because it does kind of look like the Friends set. I also think that theme song's like kind of catchy.
It is. Right? I love the credits. I'm like, go Cordy. And she's like all silly doing her stuff.
I was like, this is going to be stuck in my head all day. Yeah. They're like, ooh, do, 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 do. I don't remember any of the words, but it's like, it's stuck in your head, right? Yeah. Yeah. I wrote like, oh, this theme song's actually kind of catchy. She looks fantastic in all of her like Cordy scenes. Her hair looks great. Her outfits are great. And like, clearly that's on purpose to be like, look, she's wealthy and famous, but I appreciate that they like made sure to make her look
like a star.
Yeah. And I feel like purposefully, that's why the episode starts with her in like sweats, right? And like the actual reality.
As soon as she came in, like after the credits, I was like, she's a star. She's a star.
She is my favorite star. She goes backstage. I do like that she has this like attentive gay assistant because that also tracks.
Also, he is from Galaxy Quest. He's the one who loves Alan Rickman's character and dies. And that's when Alan Rickman is finally like, by Grabthar's hammer, I will avenge you.
I did not realize that was him.
Yeah. I love Galaxy Quest.
So he's kind of like everything she says. He's like, all right, you want this? Okay, you need this. Oh, you want water? No, not now. Oh, you want blah, blah, blah. Hyper. I forget what is the thing he said. He says something when she's like trying to get to say Hyperion Hotel. She's like, hyper. And he's like,
first she says hypothermia. Right. And he's like, can we get Miss Chase an ice bath? And then she's like, no, hyperbaric. Make that an oxygen tent. Yes. No, that's not it. Canceling oxygen tent. And then she finally says Hyperion.
Yes, that's what it is. Yeah.
And I love that when she gets to the Hyperion, it's this bustling, functioning hotel with, again, a bunch of Whedon-esque bullshit from the concierge at the desk. Like, come on, man. I get that she's a famous hot celebrity. And I don't know. I feel like that's the kind of shit that Cordelia had to deal with in high school. And this would absolutely turn her off to this existence.
Honestly, it's probably stuff that Charisma has to deal with in real life.
Yeah.
Especially as a famous actress. Yeah. But like the Hyperion almost feels like another character in Angel. Mm-hmm. And I love this for the Hyperion. It's meant to be bustling. It's meant to be a nice hotel that you go to. Yeah, I would say the Hyperion.
It's as if the events of Are You Now or Have You Ever didn't happen. It's, there was never a demon in the hotel that ended up causing a bunch of people to be killed. And the hotel just went on being this nice little staple of Los Angeles.
In my head, I'm thinking maybe Angel took care of that at some point between these like 2.5 years.
And maybe like sold it or something. Yeah.
Well, not sold it, but like never like was hired on to take care of it.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Like kind of still what happened, but they didn't start living there.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That's fair. All right. So she wants to see a specific room. It's the room it's Angel's room, or the room where her like body is in the real reality.
Mm-hmm.
I was a little confused here. I didn't realize, I was like, wait, does she remember? But she doesn't. She just has like a kind of like a sense, right? Like,
yeah, she's running on instinct.
Yeah. And I do like that. Like you all said, it's like, oh, even with just running on instinct, she doesn't remember everything. She still wants to help. That's like, that is her instinct is, no, I want to figure this out. I want to help. I know something like is wrong. And I love to see that out of my Cordy.
And then she starts ripping apart the wallpaper. The expensive wallpaper. And he's like, I hated that wallpaper anyways. Like just trying to like appease her.
Remodels. Okay. Yeah. And
bad. That's bad wallpaper.
What is it? She sees like the address. Is it the address?
Yeah. Like 171 Oak.
And because I did not rewind, did she write that there as Angel? Like, why the hell is that?
She did, which makes me think that this was part of a bigger plan because everything's very layered on top of itself. Yeah. It's like this alternate reality just for her.
It's almost like what Skip said in the mall when he's like, well, it's a construct of a thing for you. That's almost what this feels like, which I guess one could argue it is. But yeah, so she gets the address, goes to it. The girl recognizes, I do like that the girl immediately is like, oh my God, you're Cordy. Like she knows because she's a big famous celebrity in this reality.
Yeah. I love this girl. I feel like she is the perfect amount of camp for what's happening in this episode. Yes. I love that she's just like, well, my dad left and my mom's visiting friends in Ojai. So I'm here doing a summoning spell to get my dad to come back to us. But I spilled, what did she spill? Coke on
Diet
her.
Coke, yeah.
She spilled Diet Coke on the fucking grimoire she was using.
I could see her as a potential. It would have been amazing if they would have hired her on as a potential and just like.
Yeah, that would have been great.
Yeah.
Or like, little witchy girl. I do think you're right, May, because my only critique of the alternate reality is that it's so dark and serious, and I feel like she makes it a little bit more like breezy.
Well, and I think, Gunn and Fred come in when Cordy is fighting this monster that has been summoned, and I love
Gunn and Wes, yeah.
Yeah. I said Gunn and Fred, sorry.
Which makes me think that Fred is still in Pylea.
I know, no. She probably is.
Oh, no.
Yes.
Oh, that's horrible. Or, maybe
it never happened.
Maybe Angel still had a vision about her and they were able to rescue her from Pylea and she just went home to Texas because Angel's the fucking mess.
All right, yeah, I like that.
She didn't have anyone to have a hero crush on. I like that this monster shows up, of course, with some lightning and some wind, and I hate the cinematography here. It's so jolting and awkward, and this looks like a pretty decent practical creature, but maybe it's not, and that's why they chose to do this.
I was going to say, I feel like that's done because it's like, well, if we show the whole thing, it'll look bad. Let's just make it really jarring. Yeah. The show doesn't always do that, but it does like to do this kind of shots sometimes, and I always hate them. Those feel very of the time.
Yeah, and it's like we've talked about the transitional bits where it like flashes and makes the loud noises and makes me feel like I have epilepsy, which I don't. I hate that. Yeah. And this feels similar. It is not a good way to film an action sequence. People want to see what's happening during an action sequence.
Yes. Gunn and Wes defeat the monster, and Cordelia, it's funny how often I forget. Like, I was like, well, wait, if we erased it, why does Cordelia know? Oh, right, because she still grew up in Sunnydale. And Buffalo.
I know, I was like, she's still a Sunnydale girl.
Yeah,
like, she can take care of herself. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, I love that she's like, Wesley, I haven't seen you in forever. What happened to your other arm?
I like when Gunn is like, is it true you and Wes had a little? And she's like, humiliating kiss where he drew it all over my chin. Yes.
And I've done my best to repress it.
Yeah. And then I forget, what is Wes say? I didn't write it down, but he's like, as much as I love this, like trip down memory lane, March death or something like that. I like when he's like goofy while still being serious.
Yeah. I think that's one of the strengths of Wesley's character. It's the last episode I was on, and he opens up a book and he goes, yes, here it is. It says, I have no idea what's going on. It's when he's deadpan, he's so good at it.
Yeah.
No, he's good. And I like that he's like, I got to go check my books. And she's like, some things never change, because he's so different from the Wes she knows.
Yeah.
But she's like, okay, you are still the Wes. I know.
He's still like doing the research thing. Yeah. And so Gunn mentions like, oh, the three of you from Sunnydale. And then Cordelia wants to see Angel. I don't know that I love, I didn't quite understand what we were like, I don't know, going for here, but I do love, I think Charisma does some really good acting when she like, the heartbreak in her voice is really good.
So I think what the whole point of this plan is to get Cordelia to take on, if we're going back to Buffy speak and Hush, an aspect of a demon.
Yeah.
So she can be prepared for Jasmine. And if that's the case, basically what we're doing is putting her through something to show her who she really is so that she chooses to go back to her original reality. She needs to see Angel suffering because they know how important he is to her, and they know she will not be able to stand seeing him like this. And that's the only thing I can think of why they make Angel like this. It's not a good look.
Well, I think that Angel has always been a little crazy, especially, like he had this whole crazy time after he got a soul, he has to make amends. And then like, I think it makes sense that this would bring him over the edge, and he wouldn't be able to handle the visions like other people would. Also, they're like, David Boreanaz, if there's one thing you can do, it's whimper, and they're like, oh, make him whimper. Like when he came back from hell. And also, I love that in this reality, we have to accept the fact that Angel and Doyle kissed.
So, it's always someone that doesn't follow Slayerfest on social media trying to accuse me of like straight washing Angel. To like, no, because in that one episode, that proves that Angel's queer. And I was like, all right, like.
Well, Angel's 200 plus years old. You can't expect him to not have experimented.
Yeah, and we've talked about there's no way that Angel, Darla, Drusilla, and Spike were not all fucking each other. There is no way that Darla and Drusilla were not topping and doming Angel and Spike.
I mean, in season 5, they definitely definitively allude to Spike and Angel.
Right. Oh, right. Yeah. But like, it was like one of the things where it was like, because I did like a stupid meme where it was like the dumb straight guy. And someone was like actually mad at me to use this as an example. And I was like, this is a terrible example if you're going to do this. Like y'all just said, like the vampires are a very good example of that. Not this. And it was like, well, no, it's implied that they were in love then if they kissed. But I think that's why Angel was driven mad because of
the gay kiss.
Right, yeah. He was like, no.
He's like, I can't deal with this.
Because Skip says to Cordy earlier on, the reason it's like Doyle's love for her helped with the visions.
Oh.
Right. That's why the visions actually passed to her.
Yeah.
So that does imply that Doyle was in love with Angel. Well, and it's like, there are different kinds of love.
I think you could have had a platonic love, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I was thinking that like the reason it didn't work for Angel, but it did work for Cordelia is because he was in love with Cordelia and maybe he wasn't with Angel. Like that's why it didn't work.
Maybe, but I think it's just because
the vampire stuff and
because when Angel eventually gets the visions, spoiler alert, Angel eventually gets the visions. He's in a lot more like solid mental place than he was at the beginning of Angel season 1.
Correct. Yeah, Angel season 1, he's just moved cities. He is dealing with a breakup with Buffy, all this other shit, and it makes sense.
Wait, when does Angel get vision?
When Cordelia visits him.
Oh, he gets
And,
he gets I thought you meant like consistently, and I was like, I don't fucking remember that at all. So even though the like alternate reality doesn't all like fully land, when Charisma is so good with like, she always has, for lack of better terms, very good like her. I'm trying to not say charisma. Her chemistry.
Charisma.
I was like, don't say charisma has charisma. Her, like, she like, it's like one-sided chemistry because Angel's like, you know, just like babbling and moaning, but like her heartbreak when she kisses him, and like you can feel that she like, this is someone she loves so much. Like it made me like tear up a little bit, and the like way they show the light. Yeah,
I watched it shortly before we got on here to record, and I teared up a little bit because that's how good of an actor she is, and that's how good she is at conveying emotions and bringing them to us.
Yeah, I love. She almost has like it is like a hero moment, right? Because we see the same way it looked when her and Doyle kiss, where it's like the shining light. And then she just is like, I remember everything.
Yeah.
And
everything around her pauses. Skip shows back up. And he's, I guess, since we know what's really going on, he's feigning being pissed off, trying to talk her out of taking on an aspect of a demon so that she can withstand the visions. And
like, so in my mind, before they rewrote like the season 4 plot line, you know, because we know Cordelia was supposed to be like kind of the big bad that season anyways, but like actually fighting.
I ever knew that.
Yeah,
somehow.
So she was kind of supposed to be the big bad that season, fighting and everything, and then Joss Whedon, that's why he was upset, and he had to like change the storyline and put in the Jasmine of it all into it.
Or he could have just let her be the big bad.
or he could have just let her be pregnant and have a big, you know, Birkin bag in front of her, like Sarah Jessica Parker in Sex and the City.
Yeah, or like what they did with Amy on Brooklyn Nine-Nine, which it was so obvious, and that made it so much more funny.
Yeah.
And Will and Grace, Deborah Messing, spent a whole season in big jackets holding something in front of her.
Or she could have been going through like her demon transformation, and it just like done weird things to her body.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. That's why that like never fully worked, even when that was like the excuse. Because it's like, but shows characters get pregnant all like actors have been pregnant on show. That's been a thing. It's not like that's like the first time that's ever happened.
You know, when I was a kid, I was like, oh, that makes sense. You can't really have her.
When I was younger,
And then I was like, later on, I was like, wait.
Yeah. It's like
you could have done it.
Watched plenty of shows.
Yeah.
And like I said, this is like her hero moment. So I love when she's like, find a loophole to skip. Like she is not, I mean, again, I hate retroactively that we're kind of supposed to believe this is on purpose to trick her into doing it. But for what it is here, I love this Cordelia. This reminds me of like Cordelia standing up to Lyle Gorch when she's like, what do you think I'm going to do to you? I love it. And I love that she doesn't really, she's just like, okay, when he's like, well, you're going to take on an aspect of a demon. You never know. It's going to be painful, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, great, do it. Yeah, I got it. I'll do it.
And we know that Cordelia loves her looks. You know, that's something that she really holds dear. And she's like, you know, I'm willing to risk it. Scales and all. Yeah. So
he like sends her back and she gets up, and I love that she's like checking for horns. It's kind of like Buffy in is that Earshot? Yeah, Earshot.
Yeah.
And I love that they're like, what vision are you talking about? She's like, oh, the one I'm having right now. And we see that she can have them without like getting hurt, being in pain. And then the last image of her is her doing what, May?
Oh, she is hovering above the ground, and everyone's like, Cordy?
I love that.
So this is, and we've talked about this before, this is where Angel really shines, is knowing when to have a joke and then just cut it off.
Yes. Yeah.
And Buffy was great at the same thing. There are so many episodes that end on a humorous moment with absolutely perfect timing. And I love that Cordelia doesn't look down and freak out. She's not like, oh my God, I'm floating. She just says, what?
Yeah.
And then it ends. And it's
so good.
It's so delightful.
Yeah. I love that beat and the silly music that's playing where it's like, It's just like, it's very, it's so good.
Well, and I also love that we don't get a big scene of her explaining everything that happened and going through the whole alternate reality thing. It's like, we can assume that at some point she's going to tell them about it. We don't need to see that happen right now. Let's go for this sweet, funny moment at the end of what could have been a very harrowing episode.
Yes. No, I agree. Yeah, and I'm forever annoyed at the like wasted potential here, because this sets up her storyline so well, and like we're taking away the aspect that is holding her back. Like her vision's hurting her and giving her these migraines and like thrashing her around. That is something that is literally holding her back. She can't go into battle, right? If like she has just been thrown into a dresser and her head feels like it's going to explode. So she
can't hold a baby.
Back. Right. She can't even, but now she can. And like, and this, as the season goes on, we see that she has other powers and she gets to do other cool, like supernatural superhero shit. And I just, the wasted potential of that story and what could have been.
I know. Oh, they could have just rewritten season 4 and made season 5 about that. You know?
Fuck you, Whedon.
Seriously. And she's so good. Before we get to the end, some trivia for this episode. The theme song to Cordy was written by Marty Noxon and David Greenwalt. And Noxon, who also sang a song in Once More a Feeling, makes a cameo as Cordelia's friend in the opening credits.
I knew that looked like her.
And my other trivia was that it was filmed on the set of Dharma and Greg, which was still being used. Skip explains that astral bodies take on an idealized version of themselves. In You're Welcome, Wesley will tell Cordelia, who is astral projecting, that she looked really hot despite being in a coma for 2 years. And similarly, in You're Welcome, Cordelia will have a vision while in a coma and soon die, which is the fate that Skip tells her she will have, which is a fucking bummer. This is a weird note that I did not ever know. The uprising of the demon in Reseda, which is what Cordelia has a vision of, was predicted by Wesley in 2 Shanshu in LA. Like, he mentions it, which is weird.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, he does say that.
Very weird callback. And Wesley says he lost an arm in an encounter with a Kungai demon, which is the demon he was tracking in Parting Gifts.
Correct.
And so favorite scene, May?
I really love that ending. It's so cute. It's goofy and delightful and a nice wrap up to the episode.
Alastair?
I really love the scene with her accepting her fate. Well, what she perceives as her fate of like, I'm going to sacrifice it all, maybe not lead a normal life in order to be able to do what I can for innocence.
I think for me, it's her kissing Angel. I just love that whole moment. Charisma's so good. Favorite outfit, Alastair?
So I don't know what to call it, but she was wearing it in Cordy. And it's like a silvery dress where it's like all exposed, like very down. She looks amazing in that.
She does. Yeah. She does. May?
I think I really like her just cleaning outfit when she's in the gray sweatpants and the sweatshirt with the tank top. Her hair's a fucking mess and she's still so beautiful because she's Cordelia. And I like that she ends the episode that way too. And she looks like a quote unquote mess, but again, she's still Cordelia. So she's this stunning, radiant, beautiful woman who brings light everywhere she goes.
Honorable mention for Dennis. Really like that birthday hat.
Oh yeah, it's so cute.
So 2 things on what you just said, May. I want you to know, 1, I was going to say, I bet you're going to say the sweatpants look, because I'm glad I know you that well by now.
It's true.
2, I will say, when Cordelia stood up out of bed and like stretched at the end, I was like, man, even in like her like messy look, she looked snatched as hell. Like, so good for her. My favorite outfit, I loved her like the outfit she changes into after the credits, Alastair, like right after that, like cute purple dress, which is cute. I like her like black celebrity outfit with her.
Yeah.
I really like her hair like that when she does like, I guess she probably puts like a little bit of gel in it and scrunchies
like
it.
crimped.
Yeah, I think that doesn't always look good on everyone, but on her, I think it looks really good. What grade do we give this episode, May?
I'm going to give this an A-. I think it's really well constructed. I think whatever the reasons were for writing this episode the way they did and where they were originally planning on going with it as opposed to where they ended up, it is a fun little capsule of an episode. Like I said at the top, I love alternate reality episodes where characters get to be in different situations, do something a little different, and I think this one is no exception.
Alastair?
So I'm going to give it an A+.
They're going to be like, I give it a C. I was going to be like,
what? But if they had added a Cordy scene to it, it would have been S tier.
Okay. All right. I give it a B+. Only because I wanted a little, for a Cordelia episode, it's not as like, I wish there was a little bit more like comedic beats, but I still like it. Well, thank you all for listening. If you like Slayerfest 98, you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and anywhere else you get your podcasts. We are also doing everything as video recordings, so you can find all of our videos on our YouTube channel. Please go and subscribe, like, and give us a good rating if you like us, because it really helps out the podcast. And if you want to support us, you can find us on Patreon, where we are going through X-Men the Animated Series, Batman the Animated Series, do watch-alongs, Zoom calls, and there's a bunch of other stuff too. I do a sex talk show with Alastair's husband, Zach, called My Nudie Judy, and we can find us on all social media platforms at SlayerFestX98. You can find me at IanXCarlos. May, where can everyone find you?
You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd at EversonPoe. That's EversonPoe. You can find my music on Bandcamp and streaming services as Everson Poe, 2 separate words. You can hear me weekly on The Lady Killers, where I co-host and edit. And you can hear me as a rotating co-host of Tender Subject, a body horror and cannibalism podcast, along with Kate Terry.
And Alastair, where can everyone find you?
You can find me at Alastair J. Patton on all socials. I'm also featured on AZB, the YouTube channel, and then AZB Plus, Patreon, where we're about to start covering Queer as Folk.
Nice.
The original series.
All right, everybody. Well, thank you all for listening. Thank you both for joining me. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.